Broadcasting live from beyond the wall, this is The Monstrous Feminine, the podcast where horrible humans talk about horror. My name is Zeba, and I'm joined by my bonies,
Mila
and Louisa.
And this is our last episode covering romantic horror. Taya is off this episode, but she'll be back soon. For this discussion, we are talking about the 2013 zom-rom-com Warm Bodies, directed by Jonathan Levine. If you would like to hear one more bonus episode on this theme, then head over to our Patreon and pledge. Before we get into the film, go ahead and follow us on Spotify, YouTube, or the Apple Podcasts app. You can find all of our links on our Instagram at The Monstrous Feminine Podcast.
In Warm Bodies, a zombie named R laments his near catatonic state and muses on the meaninglessness of existence in the post-apocalyptic world. That is, until he meets Julie amongst a group of survivors who are searching for medical supplies as part of a mission for their nearby camp. The zombies attack, and R consumes a young man's brains and realizes as he absorbs his memories that this is Julie's boyfriend. R immediately develops feelings for her and saves Julie from being consumed. The two spend time together, and after numerous close calls, Julie begins to trust R. The more R feels, the more alive he becomes, and he learns that the other zombies can awaken through love too.
What am I doing with my life? I'm so pale. I should get out more. I should eat better. My posture is terrible. I should stand up straighter. People would respect me more if I stood up straighter. What's wrong with me? I just want to connect. Why can't I connect with people? Oh, right. It's because I'm dead.
So we asked you guys on Instagram to submit your dating horror stories, and we're going to read out 3 of the submissions we got. So one of our submissions said, "He fist bumped me goodbye after he made me pay for my own McDonald's."
Why are y'all saying yes to McDonald's dates in the first place?
I assumed it was end of the night, like they'd gone out.
This seems like post-club.
Okay, that's a bit more understandable.
I filled in the gaps myself, and I think it was end of the night. They went to McDonald's after whatever, because, you know, depends on where they are, because you think that London bars are open late. They're not. This could have been like 11 p.m., but nothing's open.
The who pays on dates is so, it's just, it's unduly stressful.
I actually went on a date which ended in McDonald's once before, to be fair, and she paid for like everything. And she bought like a McDonald's feast, might I add. So I'm going to say for this, yeah, the bar is very, very low.
I'm very much a you should be going Dutch on dates.
That's how I was raised. That's how I was taught to be. But like my mom said, when you're both students, and then she never updated the advice beyond that. I have never paid for anyone else's anything, I will say, on a date. Either I've gone Dutch or been paid for.
Okay, wait, I go, for dates, like, generally, I go Dutch. But, like, this specifically, it was because, like, she'd gone to the counter, and I think she surprised me by coming back with, a McDonald's feast. I say surprise, but it was, like, what I'm saying is I didn't ask for all of that. In fact, I think she was just going to get something, and I was just going to, like, eat some fries, and then she came back. So, like, it was her treat, but I did not expect it, and I usually do split things on dates.
Are you dating within your tax bracket? I feel like if you make a lot more money than me, you have to pay.
But this is what I mean. That's if you're dating, not on the first date. I feel like if you're already dating, I do think there's sort of more relaxed rules about like you pay, I'll pay next time. If you're significantly richer than I am, are you a CEO? Then I'm not paying for anything.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But that's things you have to figure out. You can't like make any assumptions on the first date.
It depends, man. Like, okay, I'm going to assume that this was a male to female thing. And in which case, I'm gonna get like controversial, but I think men should pay.
And here's the thing, I'm also an elitist, and
Yes. We're also
kind
misandrists.
Yes, and I feel like I'm at a point in my life, this is a new realization and perhaps a new habit, where I'm not going on a date with somebody who doesn't have a good job, you know, or like, I'm just not gonna do it.
I second this so much. I'm going to level with you. It might sound snobby, but this logic would have also eliminated me pre-getting this job, in the sense that I want you to have a job or just have something that you like care about and are passionate about. I think it's such a turnoff when somebody just doesn't know what they want to do. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. We all go through that phase. I just mean like we're not going to be compatible while you're in that phase. I've tried to date people who are in that phase at this stage of my life. It doesn't work. So no, what is it? I don't want no scrub.
You don't have to like make a ton of money, but you have to have like a good job that you use your brain for. Does that make sense?
Okay, so wrapping up that wonderful submission, thank you so much for sharing that horror with us. The next one we have is revealed that she was a cop during the talking stage. Well, this is quite a literal horror.
Hard pass.
Yeah, hard pass.
Hard pass.
I'm glad it was brought up during that stage before I assume any meeting had taken place. It's one of those careers, it's just like a hard no. It would be a disservice to call it just an ick because it's more like a moral disgust.
Do y'all have like people in the military on dating apps over there who are like trying to get married tomorrow? Is that a phenomena that y'all have over there?
I haven't heard the second part, marriage tomorrow, but I have seen like a couple people who are like Navy or something, and I'm like, simply no.
So in the US, because our military industrial complex is predatory and enormous, everybody gets recruited out of high school and then they get this fear of dying and then they get on dating apps and they try and get married immediately because they're like, I can't die without having found the love of my life. I wonder if she has like if like the person felt the need to disclose being a cop, if it's like a problem in her dating life generally.
Even if they were like, if I deemed them a good person individually, I'd be like, I cannot forgive the institution you're a part of. Like, it's naive to think one good person in it will change the entire institution, A. And B, I could not stomach having to tell my friends that I'm like seeing a cop. Or my family. It's just so against like everything I've been arguing for. Like abolition and defunding the police. So I don't really think that I could get past it. Even if they were a wonderful person, it just like individually, I cannot do it. I cannot hate my partner's job. This does also go for military as well. I think like it's too much of an institution of violence.
Are there any other professions that are immediate hard passes for y'all?
I have one that's going to be left field.
Oh, go on.
You're going to be surprised by it.
All right.
A chef.
Oh,
I love a
they do
chef.
have crazy hours though.
I think most chefs working normally in like higher end restaurants are clinically insane in that there is a like superiority and obsessive need for perfection, which I unfortunately struggle with in my own life in different ways. My partner can't be that kind of like arrogant fucker. Like I take up that space already.
No Gordon Ramsays for you.
Yeah, obviously not the same kind of aversion towards that profession as a police officer.
I wouldn't date a gynecologist.
That's a really interesting one. I would, but
because of that one episode of Friends where she dates a gynecologist who's a guy, and he says that like, you know, when you like come home at the end of the day and you think if you, because she was a waitress, and he's like, oh, do you ever get home after the long day and think, if I see one more cup of coffee? And I'm sorry, that did so much damage. Now I can never date a gynecologist.
I feel like it's like reading the tea leaves, like they know.
This is what I mean. I'm so sorry. If you're like a really sexy gynecologist, like if you tick every other box, I might be willing to overlook it. But I don't know. As I stand right now, I think it's a no from me.
Hard no, the whole of the finance sector.
I could date lawyer, I could date finance, I could date tech person. I just think that they'd have to have some really strong creative hobby that they're really
Could
into.
you date somebody who's into just crypto? Their whole money is in crypto.
Zeba, don't ask stupid questions.
I don't understand crypto and it scares me, so I'd probably stay away from that. No fintech, please.
Okay, let's move on to the last submission we're going to read. So, I was on the date and the conversation was very dry. So I asked, what's your guilty pleasure? And he said, it's having sex with men. Sorry. Sorry. And he said, it's having sex with men. So I was like, okay, but why do you think that is a guilty pleasure? And he said that he likes to have sex with specifically hairy older men who have a family. I am somewhat obsessed with this like brutal honesty on a date.
I must say this is from Emma. Emma wished to not be anonymous, so this is from Emma.
I want to know so much more, and I wish I'd never heard this. I like the plot twist of he's not necessarily homophobic, but he is morally questionable.
Yes.
It's the qualifiers to make Harry older, has a family. Like one of them was not like
it sounds
the
like
other.
daddy issues.
Shout out Emma. I'm really proud of you for getting through that situation. I'm glad that you like tried to gently prod him into exploring the potential homophobia when you asked why was that guilty. We love a progressive queen.
Yeah, it's all about praxis, what we bring into our everyday lives.
Yeah. Honestly, what an ally. I hope that your next date is wonderful. That's what I wish for you.
Absolutely.
Happy Valentine's Day, Emma.
Happy Valentine's Day. Sending you hugs and kisses and chocolate.
If you would like to be a Witch of the Week, you just have to engage with our content on all platforms. And friendly reminder that we are also on Patreon. For £1 a month, you gain access to our Discord. For £3 a month, you get to hear a cut discussion from one of our main episodes. And for £5, you get all that, plus a bonus episode. Please support us. Any contribution helps. Warm Bodies. My initial thoughts is that I actually welled up in like the first 10 minutes of it.
10 minutes?
Well, he like brings her back to the airplane and he's like, don't cry. And I don't know. I thought it was sweet, and I should say that I am PMSing. I don't think it would be my usual response, but yeah, I welled up at several points, and I was like, it's just beautiful. Like, love truly conquers all, for real.
I thought you were going to well up when they were like remembering their past memories with loved ones.
When they all go and stand in front of the holding hands photo, yeah, that did get me as well. It was very touching.
I'm surprised at this. If you have forgotten, Louisa hates comedies. Louisa hates fun. But Louisa loves love, so they're...
So you give me a rom-com, and I'm on board. Yeah, it did get me. And then I was thinking that, like, you know, those Twitter tweets or, like, TikToks where it's like, would you still love me if I was a worm? It's got me thinking, like, would you still love me if I was a zombie? And if the answer is no, I don't think we're meant to be.
Well, it depends. In this film, they can re-find or reawaken their humanity.
I don't know if I have patience for waiting for a lot of people. Like, besides my mom, I don't know if I'd, like, wait around and not kill my loved ones and hope that they could be rehabilitated by love. I mean, obviously, I'd be guilt-ridden when I found out that it can be reversed, but we can cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah, I mean, what did you think of the dad? Because he was like, this is what you do with zombies. They try to kill you, I shoot them with the head. And then he's like, that's what I did with your mother. And I was like, well, you were dumbass because you just waited. Well, not dumbass. I feel like that was the appropriate reaction for the knowledge that they had at the time. However, I bet he felt stupid afterwards, thinking, damn, I shouldn't have shot her in the head.
We only have the gift of hindsight, and I feel like more people could have been zombified had he not killed her, maybe. I don't know.
I love John Malkovich. I think he brings an intensity to everything he does. He was the perfect cast for that. Sort of out of touch in the sense that he had lost sight of his humanity in like survival mode, protecting his family, his community camp. Yeah, it was very much like shoot things, ask questions later. And then the power of love between his daughter and a zombie, break the spell.
I thought it was like the setup where like it begins with him eating her boyfriend's brains, and she like still like is able to like get to know him and see him as kindly. I was like, that is wild. Like, she truly hated her boyfriend.
Do we think that he fell in love with her because he ate the boyfriend's memories?
No, because he was enamored with her as soon as he saw her, or at least like led him to like better understanding of her sooner than it would be on another normal timeline for getting to know someone and no access to their memories, which is a bit strange and somewhat my worst nightmare.
Yeah, would y'all eat the brains or would you not eat the brains?
Would I eat someone's brains to find out more about the person I liked? I want to say no, but I know I would.
That wasn't exactly my question, but I like where you went with it. My question was, if you were a zombie, like he says, like the brains are the best part. I feel like for me, I would avoid the brains because I would feel guilt-ridden about knowing everything about the person who I just killed.
But he also says that it's the only way he can feel something at all. So every day is like this numb experience, and eating the brains is like the one shot of emotion.
I'm just forever an emo, and I think I would also relish in that numbness and be like, life is just meaningless every day.
You would be a Bodhi in the first week.
I would.
In an apocalyptic zombie scenario, where does romantic love sort of fall on y'all's like list of priorities?
Number one. How often I think about this is like ridiculous considering it's fantasy, like not a real thing. But I think about like it's literally Shaun of the Dead style of like who I would save, go down the list. And it's always like I don't even have a girlfriend, but I'm like my girlfriend.
I honestly think that I know there's a joke in the film when her friend, Teresa Palmer's friend, is like, believe me, I know how hard it is to find a boyfriend in the apocalypse. Da 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 da. I actually think, depending on the safety of the environment, to what degree are you in fight or flight? I feel like if the world collapses and you're no longer having to deal with bills, with going to your 9 to 5, with dressing properly, not have any other external pressures of like normal functioning capitalist societies.
But your priorities are also shifted in that, like, okay, let's say you're looking for protection or comfort or intimacy or all the things that you're lacking post apocalypse. I think it would become a higher priority. Like, okay, I guess all my relationships would probably be heightened. Like, if I'm with my friends, my friendships would be heightened. If I had children for whatever reason, everything would be about protecting my children. If I had a romantic partner, I'd be like, not only are you a romantic partner, but we are like partners in survival, and it would become a dependent relationship in that way. If I didn't have a romantic partner, I don't know that I would be looking for one in this scenario or that I would be seeking it out.
But I think that it would, in a sense, be easier to find like a partner than it is in the current dating landscape.
Wow, that's bleak. God.
That's a wild take, Mila. I feel like I guess you're right though. You would remove a lot of the barriers that cause relationships to be difficult. Like if no one's working,
People fight all the time in these situations. You don't think a fight would take y'all out?
just think about what your usual type is and just saying your type might change. Also, like it removes any need of being picky. Like there's not that many people left, so like you're probably gonna be like, ooh, and consider people like my standards cannot be that high in the apocalypse. So you're probably right. I probably would end up dating.
Would you fall
more.
for a zombie? Would you be that desperate?
No. She was wrong for that.
Here's the thing. I think that all of our types, the standards we hold, the expectations we have for our ideal partners, a lot of them, if we sucked it up, if we simply had no other choice and we were like dating or simply interacting with like loads of people in that sort of like apocalyptic scenario where your focus is really on simply day to day, and let's say it's like relatively low stress, like there aren't zombies trying to kill you every fucking 2 seconds, it's more just like back to really simple living. I feel like people would be able to make much deeper connections.
This conversation is reminding me of Triangle of Sadness. It starts with like this young rich couple, and it's like this really hot model. And then they shipwreck with a bunch of other people. It was about your point about like what's deemed useful in a society based on just survival skills. And basically everything that we value in this society is no longer useful in like when you're just trying to survive.
I feel like some people still have fucking like ancient desirability politics. Like I feel like some girls are like, I want a man's man. If you can't start a fire, don't even talk to me.
Yeah, but like they would do well here.
That's what I'm saying. But I feel like I don't know. As far as the things that we value today, I think some of them are really deranged considering that we don't live in caves anymore and that we don't live in an apocalyptic society.
Maybe they're onto something. Maybe they're onto something. They know something we don't.
I mean, she has no sense of self-preservation at all. She was literally chilling, listening to records with a zombie.
Well, I guess because he spoke to her.
Spoke is generous.
I think like when they went in for like that final kiss,
I'm not gonna lie, it grosses me out. I just think that I can't get the like initial image of him out of my head.
yeah, I mean, I know at this point he's mostly back to life. Like in fact, that's like the final thing that does it. His eyes turn blue again, and he's revived.
His half zombie self looks like half the dudes in Brooklyn anyway. Like they are malnourished and pale.
Yeah, Victorian core.
Yeah, that Timothy Chalamet look is very in at the minute.
Yeah, they're also probably on something. They've got that zombie look in their eyes too.
Yeah.
White guys often have that look in their eye, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I don't think I could have. Yeah, the kissing was weird. I was like, this is a little. It's giving Snow White in reverse a little bit.
Wait, sorry, in what way?
Love's True Kiss. Have you seen Shrek? They also kiss in that and Magic Happens.
What do you mean, have I seen Shrek? What do you mean? Is she a corpse or is she just asleep?
They thought she was dead. She was like in a deep sleep, but they put her in a coffin. She was in that glass coffin.
He thought it was a corpse and he kissed her. It doesn't matter if she was or wasn't. Whereas she knows he's a corpse in this movie. And I'm like, okay, so obviously there's a strong necrophilia like line here.
But Daddy, I love him.
It was, but Daddy, I loved him.
I mean, like, I don't see how that can be compared to people who are actually like necrophilic, because her attraction to him is not based on him being a zombie. It's because she got to know him as a person. That's like the whole point of the movie, that love triumphs all.
For somebody who just proclaimed high standards across the board, this is like surprisingly a low bar for you.
I found it repulsive, but I support it. As in, what I mean is that I wouldn't go so far as to say it was like necrophilic.
That's really generous of you, Mila.
It's towing that line for me, for sure. I don't know if it's full for like all the way. I think that this film is interesting in an interesting take on the zombies in that we know it's Romeo and Juliet, right? R and Julie. And we know that...
I mean, I did not. Oh, the balcony scene makes sense now. I was like, this is very Romeo and Juliet.
Unafraid to reference.
His best friend was also M. It was like Mercutio. Like, It was...
I'm a dumb bitch for not seeing this.
Okay, well... apparently it wasn't obvious, but anyway... I was gonna say, with zombies, there is a lot of exploration on like human versus non-human relationships, right? And I think that it's interesting how in this one, that's only traversable. Like we can only overcome that because there's actually another villain entirely, which is the Bonies. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there was a level up.
Yeah, without the element of the Bonies, there wouldn't have been any bonding moment between the two species, shall we say, of zombie and human. And I think that's indicative of human behavior. Like, I was thinking, like, there has to be an other.
Actually, like, them having the Bonies as these, like, completely savage creatures stripped of their humanity with no, like, chance of redemption. You're right, like, without that, there wasn't any purpose for them to reconcile. But then I'm sort of like, why? I mean, it doesn't matter, I guess. Like, it doesn't matter why they turn into Bonies. It's not the point of the film. But I'm curious, like, why?
He says they just gave up. Or that they gave up on their humanity, I guess is what he means. I would be a Bony so fast. I would give up.
We don't have Taya. Taya's the one who says, no, I would try.
Taya would do the reverse. Taya would fall in love with a human man and get revived.
Yeah, and I love her for that. Actually, this reminded me a touch of Shaun of the Dead. Many critics, when talking about zombie films in general, have analyzed them as a form of capitalist critique. For example, the Living Dead series, and like the excessive cannibalistic consumption of zombies is a critique of thoughtless and excessive need for endless consumption fueled by capitalist systems. And then Shelley Reese's academic essay, The Queer and the Dead, Transgressive Sexuality in Shaun of the Dead, points out the film's Marxist comedy on labor alienation, for example, like the scenes on the bus going to work. And this one, we have that scene where he says, it must have been so much better before, where everybody could communicate and express their feelings, and then it cuts to everybody on their phone looking down and not actually interacting and making connections at all. I think Shaun of the Dead was very much more labor-oriented, and like, because zombies end up part of the workforce. But this one did seem to be like emotional alienation for sure. If I was doing like a weekend viewing, I might put these next to each other. A little double feature. And then there's also Freudian reading of this from Manhola Dargis from the New York Times. Freud described the oral stage of early psychosexual development as cannibalistic pregenital sexual organization. In this stage, he elaborated, sexual activity has not yet been separated from the ingestion of food. In order for there to be a story, R must learn to keep his monstrous appetite in check so that he can be with Julie and not just consume her. He learns, in other words, to separate sexual activity from gobbling brains. Now, I thought that was an interesting sexual analytical review because I guess he is like, I don't know, discovering sexuality in the very first moment.
It's not like Edward and Bella, which there's no yearning there. I don't know.
There's no cannibalistic yearning. Thank you for listening to The Monstrous Feminine. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, SoundCloud, and Spotify at The Monstrous Feminine Podcast and on Twitter at The MonFemPod. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and follow us on TikTok at The Monstrous Feminine Pod for podcast clips and more fun. Brooms up, witches out.